whenever this is the evolutionary study, the previous case of oligoasthenospermia, we have learned that in that case we have taken aspermatism. But now if any cases comes to us of low sperm count and everything, that means the problem in their own masculine identity. Am I male or not? Am I reproducing or not? So that is what the pathology associated with the testis or testicular dysfunction, you can think of this identity related rubric. The rectum also represent the identity. The hemorrhoid is also associated with the identity conflict. Dr. Jigar Parikh, for rectum you can read GNM. In GNM it is written that rectum is related to the decisions, identity conflicts. So whenever you cannot decide anything and you feel shit or a feces conflict, then you can loses your identity leading to hemorrhoid. So this is very important understanding. So rectum can be associated with the identity. And why it is identity? Because in evolutionary animal world, so urine and stool has to be as the boundary to mark the own identity. That's why rectum is also considered to be a marking in identity. Okay. Then the bone, so bone gives you a strength, power and everything. So bone is associated with the identity. And the gene, even gene has the identity. So at the end of this conclusion, that each and every cell represents its own identity. So when the cell loses its own identity, you can think of this rubrics. So every gene has its own identity, So I will share with you one of the things, that identity of gene is maintained until gene is working in a proper way, harmonious way. If any mutation happen in the genes which lead to changes in the gene expressions, or a gene which ultimately change into identity. Okay. Mostly chaotic can be applied in cases of metastatic cancer, when every cell is not in concordance with each other and goes haywire. That is chaotic. So chaotic you cannot take into this. Mutation cannot be chaotic. Mutation is fixed. Okay. So you can think of identity rubric in genetic mutation cases. So what type of genetic mutation has happened? So gene mutations found in chromosome, like either insertion. So some of the gene comes into another one. So if मेरी टोपी किसी के ऊपर चली गई या किसी की टोपी किसी के कपड़े मैंने पहन लिए, तो मेरा आइडेंटिटी खत्म हो गया. That is what insertions. Yes, it can be misplaced, but it is associated with the identity. Deletions. Any deletions in the gene also loses their identity. Any translocations, it is a misplacement. Translocation is misplacement. 15 genes mutated to the 21 genes. So this is a translocations. It is displaced. Okay. So again, inversions, the upper P arm parameter goes into Q arm, or Q arm parameter goes into P arm. That is, inversions can also is a gene mutations, and substitutions, change. This all lead to the change in the identity. So we'll share with case of Sir. It was a case of Noonan syndrome in SCPH plus class. And what is the Noonan syndrome? So the Noonan syndrome is having a certain features. The features is like that there is a large forehead and the face. Forehead is tall, narrow temples, wide space eyes, downward slanting of palpebral features, epicanthal fold, short broad nose, then full lip with the high wide peak. Then this look something is which we called as facial dysmorphism. The geneticist write that the child is born with a facial dysmorphism having some genetic mutations, and they started investigating with the chromosome study and found to be a Noonan syndrome. So this was a case of Noonan syndrome, and this is what something that all the features of the face changes. So this is changes in the identity. So what Sir has took in this case is confusion of identity, depersonalizations, absolutely change. Okay. So syphilitic genes help to eliminate what I am. Syphilitic genes help to eliminate and select minimum. I don't get Dr. Monica. Let's have a discussions later, but we'll continue on this. So Sir took the rubric confusion of identity, depersonalization. So this is all the facial features are not accordance with the human frame. So this is what the personality totally changed. Sir prescribed Thuja, and that child was absolutely good development after the prescriptions. So this is what the gene. Second, the gene mutation. When you see any gene mutations which lead to enhance of the functions, either suppression of the functions or change in its identity, you can directly think of the rubric confusion of identity as to his. This is the mind of pathology at the gene level. This is called cell psychobiodynamics. Second point is gender identity. This was the case of Sir. Same, I have explained this previously. Sir took the confusion identity and aversion to opposite sex. So this is what gender identity also. This was a case of PCOD. This is also expressed by the Sir, 20 years old female PCOD. So you all know about the PCOD. So in approach of PCOD, you can think of then whenever the persons is changing own identity to someone else to take as a responsibility, or person becomes so weak, so I have to become a strong, then also change the identity, then you can think of confusion of identity. So in this case, what Sir has taken that grandmother, patient Nani is very strong, responsibility strong. She took responsibility of family as a lady and she supported the family financially, and she have 3 children. Grandmother, 1 daughter and 2 sons. But grandfather is not at all responsible, he is irresponsible. So grandmother took the role of grandfather. So from that point of view, Sir has taken the rubric confusion of identity. Okay, because what grandmother perceived that husband did not do any business, he do brainless things, stealing money, selling property. So the male of the house is useless. So let me take the charge of the house. Let me be the male of the house, which is the need of the hour. But biologically I am female. So that is what the grandmother perceived. And from that grandmother case, Sir took the rubric confusion of identity, tumor cyst, and the patient dispositions hurry. On the basis of that, she was prescribed. So remedy I don't know which remedy is prescribed. You can go through the rubric selections and see it. But this is what my retrospective study, that where Sir has used this. So whenever you find ovarian pathology like PCOD and PCOS, think of this rubric confusion of identity, because what ovarian role is? Ovarian role is femininity, feminine creations, and ovarian conflict related to the self-devaluation that I am not feminine enough. So whenever this is happening, I am losing my femininity, I am losing my identity and perceive am I female or male, or perceive that femininity change into masculinity. This lead to the chaotic biochemical signals at cellular biomechanism, which ultimately affect the hypothalamo pituitary ovarian axis and causes dysregulations and disturbances leading to PCOD and PCOS. Are you getting me? Hope this slide will help you in cases of PCOD, PCOS, and cases of testicular failure. This is called as mind of pathology. Why it is happening? Whenever any signal from the mind goes into cellular biomechanism, it can disrupt the hormonal signaling, affecting the HPO and causing PCOD. So PCOD and PCOS is the end result. But what can cause is this the cause. That is called as mind of pathology. So in each and every cases, you can take this rubric and apply dispositions. This is what my shortcut to case. So same way with the testis. So whenever you find teratozoospermia, that means what? The conditions where the high percentage of the sperm having abnormal morphology. So shape and structure has been changed. Whenever shape and structure has been changed, that means the identity of the sperm has been changed. So when the identity has been changed, the masculine vitality, masculine purpose, and masculine direction has been altered, leading to deformed sperm. That is something is wrong with own identity and own purpose. So in case of semen analysis, whenever you find teratozoospermia, take one rubric: confusion of identity. This is what the shortcut tips. So genetic abnormality, I carry unresolved burden. Find out the perceptions also, but this is what the mind of pathology of teratozoospermia. The case of adenomyosis, whenever you find USG report with the adenomyosis, again in this case also you can think of confusion of identity. How? So in adenomyosis, what happened in the tissue? Adenomyosis is a gynecological condition. Endometrial tissue invades the muscular layer of the uterus. So endometrium goes into myometrium, leading to pain, heavy bleeding, and hormonal dysregulation. That means what? Very common now. Yes, adenomyosis is very common now. That means what? See, role of the endometrium. So endometrium gives a nutrition. What sir says, any cell which gives a nutrition is called as motherly cell. Myometrium is a muscular which gives a support and strength to the. So any cells which give support and strength is the fatherly cell. Whenever both get intermingled, that means what? Who I am? Am I male or female? So this is what the dysregulations at the level which can lead to adenomyosis. So leading to pain, heavy bleeding, hormonal dysregulation. So pathological changes in the cell is invasive endometrial tissue growth into myometrium. So again, in first slide I said the last line is the boundary. So boundary of endometrium is crossed and it goes into boundary of myometrium. That means invasions. That is also a adenomyosis. So what happened in adenomyosis? Endometrium is motherly, giving rise to nutritions for the developing fetus. Myometrium is fatherly, giving rise to a support and to developing fetus and helps in uterine contractions. Now what happens? Mother are nurturer and fathers are supporters and providers. So in a role when mother has to look after the support, the children and father are generally absent. It may be figuratively or literally, the woman develop adenomyosis. So very important understanding here. Whenever you find this, very important in all cases of adenomyosis, you can think this rubric. Now second rubric, what you can think of is why adenomyosis, why endometrium has to go out of boundary to the myometrium. This is again the cause. Okay, so if mother giving strength to the children, home and family, if mother has insecurity about children's or loved ones, nutritive layer proliferates and invade into myometrium. As a woman takes over the role of supporting the loved one in need. So this is very important. The mother role has been changed. So distortion of the role of the mother behaving as a father lead to distortion in the normal demarcations of the uterine myometrium. So boundary has been cut off. So boundary has been impaired and it can goes into myometrium. So uterine myometrium and endometrium boundary has been changed. This lead to confusion of their boundary. This lead to confusion of identity at the level of cell, which produce distortion at uterine structure and admixture of endometrial cell into myometrium. Very important understanding. So by looking into report, you have one rubric ready. Then find out why female has to give a role as a male. That rubric has anxiety can be children about, anxiety family about, responsibility too strong. So you can add another rubric and then disposition you will get a remedy. Okay. Whenever you find gynecomastia in a male, again, what is the same thing is happening in this? Gynecomastia in a male, that means the distortion of the role of the father behaving as a mother lead when the male partner loses female partner and has to take a role of mother to nurture their children, which ultimately lead to development of the breast tissue. It is a nurturing tissue in the male. Also, there is an abnormal fat deposit in the body in the male, which is because of high estrogen in response to stress hormone and cortisol. So again, this is called as in the male, testosterone should be high. But when there is a estrogen is high, this is also a confusion. So this is lead to the confusion of identity at the level of cell. Okay, hope you got this very easy. Whenever you find any dysplastic changes in the histology report, so for example, dysplasia refer to the abnormal development or a growth of the cell, tissue or organ. This is called dysplasia. So it is a pre-malignant conditions, a potential precursor for the cancer if not resolved. So whenever you find a dysplasia, for example, epithelial dysplasia, often seen in cervix, colon, skin, respiratory linings, or skeletal dysplasia, abnormal bone development, usually genetic, or fibrous or myeloid dysplasia involving connective tissue or bone marrow, then you can think at cellular level that their identity has been changed. So, dysplasia is equal to loss of form, loss of identity, and order at the cellular level. So, the cell loses its identity and the structural order in a chronically disorganized environment, emotionally and biochemically. So, dysplasia is one of the case I'm sharing with you. This case was seen in Ankleshwar camp. I had a boy, ectodermal dysplasia, and no hair, no perspiratory gland, and no teeth development, and look like this. Okay, bizarre alien look. So when we think of bizarre alien look, sir taught one remedy, sepia. But here, what I have think in this case, initially I have prescribed on the disposition and everything. I did not get any effect in the case. But after that, I understood this dysplastic changes and prescribed the medicine. So the case is like this. Ectodermal dysplasia, the group of genetic disorders affecting the structure derived from the ectoderm, including skin, hair, teeth, and sweat gland. So in that case, I took confusion of identity, perspiration absent, and the observations of the child is the vein of the temple is distended. So this three rubric has been taken, and on the basis of that, the remedy is prescribed. Okay, so confusion of identity is in dysplastic changes. Very important understanding of confusion of identity in cancer cases. Whenever you find a cases of cancer, The histopathology or biopsy report shows something. So person comes to you with the biopsy report only. This is the biopsy, this is the tumor, and this is the biopsy, and biopsy shows this. So cellular pathology shows these three parameter in the biopsy is well differentiated, moderately differentiated, and poorly differentiated. So what do you mean by this? Looking at just the report, you can have understanding that what miasm is there and what is the meaning of this. So whenever a cellular pathology shows grade 1, pathologists compare the cancer cell to the healthy cell. Yes, boundary loss. Pathologists compare the cancer cells to the healthy cells. There are different scale of specific cancer. A tumor grade reflects how likely it is to grow and spread. So the grade 1 is called as a low grade or well differentiated. That means the cell looks a little different than the regular cell. They aren't growing quickly. So well differentiation is the initiations of the cancer. So carcinoma in situ. Okay. Second, the grade 2, it is called a moderate grade or moderately differentiated cell. So they don't look like a normal cell. They are growing faster than the normal cell. So here the break is also cut off, and there is a proliferation is also charged, and identity also affected. This is called moderately differentiated. And the grade 3, it is called as a high grade or poorly differentiated. The cells look very different than the normal. So complete loss of identity, it is called depersonalizations, and they are growing or spreading too fast. That's why we have in Materia Medica, the Thuja is one of the best remedy for tumor proliferations or cancer, is Thuja cut short and act at the tumor necrotic factor TNF alpha, and it cuts short these differentiations. And the rubric you can think of is confusion identity depersonalization. That means completely differentiated from the normal, poorly differentiated. So this is what you have to correlate. So in cancer, whenever you see changes in the carcinoma in situ or well differentiated, you can think of rubric confusion of identity as to his or moderately. This is very important. But when there is a poorly differentiated, you can think of complete depersonalization. That means or error of identity. You can think. Okay. This is what our understanding to the application of the cell into a mind. So mind rubric goes into this way. There is one case, a case of hyperinsulinemia with insulin resistance, with hyperthyroidism, with hypoandrogenism. Now you understand that the case of this hyperinsulinemia with insulin resistance and hyperthyroidism and hypogonadism. What is this? Bifurcate this. So this is a male case. Being a male, there is a low testosterone and there is a obesity which comes from the high stress leading to increased cortisol. In turn, it stimulates the more estrogen which increase obesity in male. Being a male, there is a low testosterone and more stress hormone causing obesity which result from the high estrogen. The rubric taken is confusion of identity, and the pancreas and thyroid gland is affected. So gland complaint in general is taken into considerations and the remedy prescribed. I am not going in to give you a remedy, but I am giving you food for thought so that you can apply this into a practice. Okay. The another thing, the case of epilepsy. This is a case of convulsions. They are coming from a strict Maharashtrian family. They were influenced by someone. They turned to some Baba, which is Punjabi. So the racial identity from Maharashtrian family to the Punjabi family, they follow him very devotedly. So this was the case of my sir, Dr. Suketu sir. He shared with me that they are following that cult and they are believing in that Bamba, but basically they belongs to the Maharashtrian. So they are in a duality. So in this way, sir has taken the confusion of identity, duality, sensation of, and also there is one rubric from the movement of convulsion. That convulsion is like this. So this is what the begging. So sir took two rubric: confusion, duality, sensation of, and begging and treating. So in case of identity, because of this history, okay. Confusion of identity is equal to lost cellular soul, purpose, or a role. So when cellular soul has lost their purpose or role, you can take this as directly. So what we think is, when a cell forgets its identity, it forgets its role in the body. So what cell do? Cell either goes into rebellious mode, either cell goes into isolate or self-destruction. So this manifestation in the body as this disease is either a rebellion, cell rebel, that means I am not in control of you and I am increasing my telomere, and at the sake of normal cell, that is a rebellion leading to cancer, and the role of cell is changed, that is identity crisis. So in cancer cases you can think of identity. In case of self attack, cell started destructing the self, it is called autoimmunity. You can think of this. In case of loss of self perceptions in neuropsychiatric disorders, that means inside something is me or someone else is inside is me. In neuropsychiatric disorders, again it is also a loss of cellular soul, causing confusion of identity, or genetic error at birth leading to identity confusion. Yes, self-destruction comes into autoimmunity, but confusion of identity can also create autoimmunity, because I cannot recognize myself. So whenever I cannot recognize myself, can lead to autoimmunity. In case of sickle cell anemia, also you can think of this. So what is the sickle cell anemia? The abnormal hemoglobin S, called as sickle cell disease. So HBS is a trait or actual disease. So what is hemoglobin? Hemoglobin is oxygen carrier, joy of life, or vital identity. When hemoglobin formation is become defective, it is not just a genetic flaw, it is a symbolic error in identity coding. So what happens? Symbolic meaning, sickle cell anemia is equal to deep inherited fear of attack or survival in the hostile environment, is equal to I must adopt new identity to survive. So most of time you can find out that sickle cell can be found in a low socio-economic community where the survival mechanism is hostile, the environment is hostile. So I have to adapt to new identity for survival. So they started changing the identity, and that is what the RBC started changing the normal oval shape to the crescent shape into sickling, and that is what the thing. So most of time you can think of two rubric in sickle cell. Is one is a confusion of identity, and what the end result of sickle cell is, I need to survive, but I need to go toward the death and anemia. So that death desire is a slow process. So identity twisted by inherited suffering. So in that sickle cell you can think of two rubric: confusion of identity plus death desire. Both are psychosyphilitic and both are from that add disposition of the patient, your remedy out. What my sir told me about another additions, that if a female getting married and want to stick to their parents' surname, okay, that also causes a hormonal imbalance in the female, and that lead to this. So I had an example of Kareena Kapoor Khan, okay. So this is what confusion of identity. Nowadays, this is a trend, but this trend is because of these confusions. Okay. Another things, when we see Mani's habit of the girl. So initially we took the mannish habit of girl rubric, but